guys, Jay here. Welcome to Models Memories Weekly, episode 165. Models Memories is a show about nothing and is filmed in front of a live studio audience. This is a show where I talk about my painting, modeling, and wearing experiences from the week. Now you might be thinking to yourself, Jay, you put out 3 videos a week. Could I possibly have more to say? Well, I do, and here goes. This week, minutes ago, Games Workshop showed off the big, humongous launch box for Age of Sigmar 4th edition. And boy, like they punked us at Adepticon because we were watching and they had teased like, we're gonna have a big old Age of Sigmar reveal. And then they didn't. They had the reveal that there would later be a reveal, but now we're later. And so we're actually getting the reveal. We finally get to see the contents of the box and the very vaguest of teases of what 4th edition is going to actually be like. But it's a lot like Dominion. It is a lot like Dominion. I think it might be better than Dominion. I think I like the models more. Although, I just wasn't that big a fan of the Cruel Boys from Dominion, but Nick was, so I swings and roundabouts, I don't know. But the box is interesting. Some things have me very excited, some things have me a little bit nervous, but I couldn't help but doing a little comparing and contrasting. Dominion had 60 miniatures in it, and it retailed for $199. The new box, I think, is going to cost a little bit more, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, but it does come with more miniatures. It comes with 74, and it comes with 4 pieces of terrain. Just really simple, like 2-inch by 4-inch walls, and then 2 tiny pieces of rubble. So that's terrain, which I don't mind terrain coming in the box. I think if enough terrain came in the box that you could actually play the game, I think that would be pretty cool. Getting just a little tiny bit of terrain you might as well not include the terrain, but it's in the box. You get 24 Stormcast Eternals and 50 Skaven, where previously you got 21 Thunderstrike Stormcast, because Thunderstrike was a big deal at the time, and now it's just what Stormcast look like, and 13 Orc Cruel Boys. And the Orc Cruel Boys were brand spanking new, never before seen, where the Skaven are just redoing the old sculpts, which does make them feel a little bit less special and unique, but it is really nice to see because the Skaven are just really, really cool. Oh, and the box is called Skaventide, which kind of makes me think that Games Workshop is banking on the Skaven a little bit more than the Stormcast Eternals. Although there's some pretty cool Stormcast Eternals. I still feel like Games Workshop just kind of upset everyone by getting rid of the oldest Stormcast Eternals, which some of them weren't even that old. One of them was like 6 years old only before it was discontinued, but they've been narrowing in on what do Stormcast Eternals actually look like, because originally they were Space Marines, and now they're like 50% Space Marines and 50% like medieval armor. Maybe not that much medieval armor, but they're almost science fiction fantasy versions of like medieval armor and equipment. But the new ones are cool. The big flagship of the new box is the Lord Vigilant on Griff Stalker. And the new Griff Hounds I like them a lot. Compared to the old Griff Hounds, who were like really good doggos with an eagle head, these ones do feel like a more of a fantasy creature. Like in Harry Potter 3, like Buckbeak. Buckbeak is like a really, really well done. Was he a griffin? Or what? He wasn't a griffin because that's a lion and an eagle. But whatever he was, he looked like a believable version of that chimera, like a believable those two things fused together, where the Games Workshop versions up until now have felt like very Frankenstein, like it's a doggo and then they just glued an eagle head on top, where the new one is like, that is a really well thought out creature. They really figured it out. And I think it looks fantastic. I like that its head is like bigger and part of the eagleness of it has been modified more into like a horse or a dog, and kind of like every part of it is a blend of the two creatures instead of just a Frankenstein of the two creatures. I think it looks really good. I still don't know about the collar armor, like just the breast armor that they put on these creatures, but I think it does look really good. The Stormcast riding it is fine. Like they're Space Marines. Like they are Space Marines. I think they look good. And I do like the newness of them where they're slightly trimmed up with a little bit less detail, a little bit less exaggeration, but there's something about them that just doesn't, I'm not feeling it yet. But there are some more guys. The Age of Sigmar half has 4 special fellas. So the guy riding the Griffhound is the first special fella, and then we got Lord Terminos and his buddy. And he's cool, he's got like a brooding pose with leaning on his big war axe thing. But he looks pretty cool, he looks very 40k with the chains and the definitely not purity seals. Those definitely aren't purity seals. What was hilarious is in the, Nick and I watched the actual reveals show, which stunk again. They're trying out this new thing since the Adepticon reveals, where they take what they're showing off and then they break it down into bullet points, and then they make a YouTube video for each bullet point, and then they just put them all together and upload them, and then that's how we get reveals now. It's not just like 2 nerds in a live streaming studio being like, all right, up next we got some Warcry fellas to show you, and then they show them. It's bad. It's really bad. And I think they got a lot of flack. Like we watched this one live on Twitch too. The chat was roasting them so hard. And so you'd think they would be like, people are not responding well to this format, so let's just, because they've tried a bunch of different things in terms of format, so I was thinking that they would try something else with the format, but apparently they're like, you know what? We nailed it. Just keep doing what we're doing because we can't possibly do any better. Everyone loves it. Meanwhile, just the comments are, whew, it was fun. But the Lord Terminos is a really, really cool guy. And again, he comes with a friend. And speaking of coming with a friend, we got the Lord Vigilant, who has a flaming sword and a brazier and a Griffhound friend, which I think looks much better than the old Griffhounds. Although, they don't look like the Thunderstrike Griffhounds. Like, there's 3 different eras of Stormcast, even though Stormcast haven't even existed that long. They started out chubby, and then they kind of got skinny, but the Griffhounds didn't change at all, and now we've got super cool Griffhounds and slightly more, like, edgy armor. Like, we went from Ultramarine to Dark Angels. Like, that's the art, how the art style direction that Games Workshop is moving in for the new Stormcast, but looks really, really cool. I like the bandages over the eyes. It's a neat look. I like the fire on the sword. And then we got Knight Questor, who unfortunately does not get a friend, which I think makes this model feel very lonely. But big ol' foot up on some bricks. We're doing those bases, which is fine. I don't mind it because then I just figure out a different thing to do. I would probably put like cork or something underneath that foot and have it like perched on the edge of a cliff, and it would look much better than just foot up on some rocks. Because if you're just wandering through a battlefield, you don't find the pile of something and then put 1 foot up on the pile. Like, it doesn't make any sense. But that's 50% of Games Workshop models are doing that. As long as you're tall. If you're a tall special character for Games Workshop, your foot goes up on a brick. But if you're not, then you just got both feet planted firmly on the ground. But these Stormcast guys are fine. One funny thing in the actually watching the reveal YouTube videos, they kept saying texture over and over and over for what makes these new Stormcast super cool. And it's nothing new. Like, they have cloaks like the old ones did. They have chainmail like the old ones did. Like, I guess texture, like, it doesn't make any sense to call these guys super textured, but it does make sense for the Skaven. And I feel like they didn't even mention the texture for the Skaven. I think they mentioned it once, where with the Stormcast, they just kept being like, oh, I'm so excited for all of these new, interesting textures. And it's like, they're hard plastic, they're just models. Like, they're fine, they're cool. I do like them, but I think it's because they're just so similar to Dominion. And I bought and enjoyed and painted all of Dominion, that it's like, Dominion again. And speaking of Dominion again, the Reclusions. The Reclusions are very cool, very Dark Angels, Age of Sigmar Marines, with the 2 spooky little friends wandering next to them. These guys look exactly like the Praetors that came in Dominion. Like, they look cooler. Like, I like these guys better, but tall Age of Sigmar Stormcast Eternals with axes and robes. It's like the same exact thing. It's not like, if I'm looking at the data sheets, and I guess this is like I'm a Space Marine player arguing that these things look the same. Meanwhile, I have 7 different flavors of identical Space Marines. But it's just like, you couldn't have given them cool spears or cool hammers. Like, you have to give them the 2-handed axes, just like the other guys had the 2-handed axes. It does feel a little samey, although if I could pick, I would pick these guys. But I've already built and painted the other ones that are very similar, so I think it takes a little bit of the wind out of my sails for excitement for guys with axes. Speaking of things I haven't experienced though, the Prosecutors are the Wings on Fire boys. These guys are neat. They're up on some rocks. They are on fire currently. And we got the Liberators, which are just normal, perfectly normal Thunderstrike Stormcasts, but now they have hammers instead of having bows or spears. Fine. What's interesting is Games Workshop's trying to really say that the new Stormcast are like dark and gritty, and every time they fall in battle, they lose a little bit more of their humanity and they become like just more of a weapon, more of a tool. But they're just Stormcast models. If you painted them more grimdark, then they'd be more grimdark, but there's nothing about the models really that points to them being like right on the edge of annihilation. Like if they were weird, if their armor was haggard and destroyed and their weapons were a little bit more brutal and violent, and maybe they're like fully wrapped up in purity seals, like then it'd be like, okay, these guys aren't doing great. But they all look pretty pristine and heroic and good, so it doesn't necessarily sell the horror of the Stormcast situation, which is fine. I don't know. It is what it is, but it's weird that Games Workshop's really pushing this idea that like the Stormcast is a tragedy. But they look good. They look like they're doing. It's Coruscant from Star Wars. Like everything looks perfect and beautiful and utopian. But apparently it's not. It's lots of problems in the world of Star Wars. But Dexter's Diner is still up and running, flipping burgers for Obi-Wan Kenobi. I don't know. It's a little. It's not. You don't see it and totally understand what's going on, like the story versus the actual miniatures. But I mean, I feel like I've just poo-pooed on it pretty hard. Moving on to the Skaven half of this box. Oh my god, these Skaven. They're so good. They're so good. The Claw Lord on Gnawbeast. Oh, this model is good. It's so weird and creepy. It's a rat riding a man rat. And he's a man rat. But the other thing is an even more man rat. Like its face is like, the skin is suckered right to the bone. I love his little like 6-shooter, which is like a pepperbox style pistol. I love the scoops, that weird like scooped obsidian style dagger that he has that's just painted impeccably. He's really, really cool. And it just, the hits just keep coming. The Grey Seer, and what's great about the Grey Seer, it looks fantastic. I love that his robe is like flowing away like smoke, but it also resembles his rat tail. Like his rat tail is the same silhouette as this, like the pieces of cloth coming out. It's a really, really well done miniature. But I also love that he is standing on a tactical rock. But it's actually a cool tactical rock. It's a bell with a crack in it, and little rats are pouring out of the crack in the bell. Like that is fun and cool, and so much better than his foot up on a brick. They couldn't have come up with anything. I mean, the box is centered all around Skaven. Why not just have the Stormcast on Skaven themed terrain? I guess if your Stormcast aren't always fighting Skaven, then you wouldn't want that, but man, the Skaven half just feels so much cooler. The Warlock Engineer with his Jezzail and his little rat friend and his little scope that has an elbow in it. So I guess you know why it has an elbow in it? Because Skaven are cowards, so he can hide safely behind like a rock or behind a wall. He just moves the elbow in his little periscope, and then he can look safely at the battlefield going on. But really, really well done. The Rattling Warp Blaster is a 6-shooter Gatling gun powered by rats, and it's just shooting goo. And also the reason that you have multiple barrels is so that you can shoot faster, so that one barrel can be reloaded while one barrel is firing, but they're just shooting goo. It's like a squirt gun. It's like, why would you make a 6-shooter squirt gun? But you know why? Because it's awesome. It's super funny. It's super hilarious. I love that they've got scopes. What kind of scopes are these? Like, are they like battery operated red dot sights? Or are they just, is it like an orc thing where it's just the idea of something up there is a scope? I like it. The rat ogres. The rat ogres I'm actually not super fond of. I don't particularly like the old rat ogres either, where they're all like super Schwarzenegger. These guys are a little less Schwarzenegger and a little bit more monster. Like they're good. I think they're really good. And one thing I immediately saw when I looked at these guys is, and I think the painting doesn't help with this, is where their fur just ends and then their flesh, their seemingly pretty okay and intact flesh begins. I think if you're gonna paint Skaven, I found a little trick not too long ago. I was painting up this spooky little Wendigo guy. I just put Elmer's glue and static grass on the model before I primed it. And then I just painted it mostly with the airbrush and then just a little bit of painting on top. This would look so crazy good and make them so much easier to paint because you don't worry at all about any of that fur. You don't have to sit there and like paint each one, like highlight every single one or dry brush, but then dry brushed fur never really looks that great. It would add so much texture. It would, I feel like I could get the Skaven half of this box done in a day and have it look really good. Like, I say that now and then I'm gonna do it and it's gonna take like 72 hours, but I don't think it would. I think if I tried the static grass trick to do almost all of the fur for me, I think it would save me so much time and then I could really only focus on the really cool, really fun parts of the painting process. So yeah, that's a hot tip for y'all. But yeah, the rat ogres are fine. And then the Warplock gazals are incredible. And interestingly, in some of the videos, you see 3 of them have single barrel gazals, but in the article, you see one with a double barrel gazale. So I don't know if there's gonna be weapon options in the box, but it seems like there will be, and it seems really, really cool. I like that there's verdigris like on the wood. I guess it makes sense because there's metal elements on the wood too, and so the verdigris is pouring off of the metal over the wood. But yeah, these guys look fantastic. And then you got the clan rats, which at first I was not super excited about because apparently they're all each made out of 2 pieces of plastic, which is excellent. I would not want for each clan rat to be like 7 pieces like each Space Marine is, but 2 pieces sounds perfect. And I went over this picture of all 40 clan rats, and it like there's definitely an A and a B sculpt of each one. Or like there's some that are just there's one guy and then his twin because it's just the same sprue over again. But it does seem like there are quite a few options to make one like guy number A look really different to his clone guy number B. Like there's 2 different flags, like banner guys, and they're very different flags and different poses. There's 2 different leader with sword, and they're 2 pretty darn different leaders. Like it seems like they did a really good job of giving you a sea of rats and just not having it be 10 of 10 guy, 10 of the same guy, 10 of the same guy, 10 of the same guy. It does seem like they did a really good job. So yeah, even the clan rats are excellent. Now, I like the look of this box. I actually am really excited for Skaven now. The Stormcast, here's the problem with the Stormcast. They're fine, but that's not good enough. Like, I'm sure there's some people out there who are just big Stormcast fans and aren't too mad at Games Workshop for getting rid of some of their old minis. And they're like, you know what? The new Stormcast look 15% better than Dominion Stormcast, so I have no problem getting this kind of the same 20 models again. Like, but the Skaven are so cool. Now, we got a little sneak peek potentially of the price of this box. Dominion was $199 and that was steep. And I was kind of imagining when watching the video, they don't show you much. They don't do a good job with the videos, so they pretty much only showed off the box with the contents aimed at the Spearhead. And Spearhead is Combat Patrol for Age of Sigmar. And so they only showed off some of the models, and it's like, that doesn't look like a lot of models, but maybe Games Workshop is really smart. I was thinking in my head while I was really bored watching these YouTube videos play, and I was like, Dominion did not go well. I mean, the Dominion box was great. There was nothing wrong with that box. They just made infinitely too many. They made so many that the box didn't sell out for like years. And to this day, I bet there's a bunch of scalpers with 50 boxes of Dominion sitting under their bed that they cannot move just because Age of Sigmar is not as popular as 40K, and that big, humongous, expensive box didn't move. So I was thinking, maybe Games Workshop is really smart. And maybe they're going to be like, everyone loves 40K, but we want them to play Age of Sigmar, and we want them to want to play Age of Sigmar. What if Age of Sigmar was cheap? Like, what if people are like window shopping and they're like, 40K looks so cool. I want to play a miniatures game, but I don't want to spend that much money. Well, guess what? The new Age of Sigmar box is only $100. Like, you know, and they probably could have easy to build like monopose, single pose kits. They probably could have gotten that price down, but it seems like they're not gonna, because right now, if you go onto the Warhammer community, it says if you sign up to their newsletter right now, you're entered into a chance to win the new Age of Sigmar box when it releases. Now, if you look specifically at the terms and conditions of this raffle, that it looks like you're entitled to a prize worth $265. I feel like that's bad. $265? Like, I got Leviathan. Actually, Nick got Leviathan too. Like, but it's 40K. We like 40K a lot. But 265 bones is a lot. Like, I got Dominion, and Dominion was $199, and I feel like even Dominion was like, sure, I'm splitting it with Nick, $100 for a Stormcast army, get it from the local game store for a little bit of a discount. Like, I can get into Age of Sigmar for $90, but $265, that's rough. That's more than Leviathan was. It's bad. I feel like that's kind of bad. You do get more. You get more things than Dominion. You get 14 more miniatures. Let's not forget about those 4 pieces of terrain. And you get the cards in the book, but the cards in the book always come in everything, and you end up with 3 of them by the end of an edition. I feel like it's a lot. Like, and it's weird. I'm sure they're gonna make fewer than Dominion. I feel like probably for Dominion, they made exactly as many copies as like the last big 40K box. And they're like, that was too many. We made way too many. So I'm sure they'll physically make fewer of these. But I wonder if it wasn't just like everyone who wanted Age of Sigmar wanted the biggest, most expensive box ever. I think a lower price point would have helped. Like, I think it would have been if a bunch of people were like, you know what? Age of Sigmar, 40K is cool, but I want to try Age of Sigmar. I've always heard the rules are better over in Age of Sigmar. I want to try this game out. Oh, it costs the same, if not more, than 40K, the game I've already played for a decade. Maybe not for me. I don't know. I feel like it'll probably sell out. It'll probably be fine, but I would have liked to see a smaller price point. It's the launch box. You can cut people a little bit of a deal with the launch box, but I guess not if you're Games Workshop. And they probably feel like Age of Sigmar is pretty darn popular. People are gonna want a big, humongous box that we're gonna charge a ton of money for. It's the same exact thing as 40K, no difference. That's where we'll do what we always do. Just like we always show these reveals off in the same way with the horrible video. It's fine. I would be interested in this box. It does look cool. If you're splitting it with a friend, it's still really expensive. Like that's always the dream, right? Is you and a buddy go in together and you split that box right down the middle and you rip that rule book right in half. That's not how it works, but that's the dream. And then it's like, oh yeah, it's like, you know, you cut that price tag in half, it becomes almost free. But it's still really expensive. So yeah, I don't know. I would love to know what you guys think of the new fully revealed Age of Sigmar 4th edition box. Am I being a sourpuss about the Stormcast? Are the Skaven as absolutely cool as I think they are? I mean, I think they're so cool. Almost as cool as the terrain available on our Patreon. Over there, we have a new set of terrain every single month, and this month we have the Pestilent Forest, a table's worth of grotesque yet beautiful terrain pieces that'll let you fight your tabletop battles surrounded by the corrupting influence of decay. Huge eye plants, cauldrons of pestilence, rotting creep, and the Great Maw make for a very chaotic environment. And if you always want to be up to date on the goings-on here at EonsOfBattle and be entered into our monthly giveaways, this month we're picking 3 followers to receive this month's terrain. You can follow the link in the description to sign up to our newsletter. The new Age of Sigmar box does look intriguing. I did play Dominion one singular time. It was definitely worth getting that box, but it was fun. I really liked Age of Sigmar. It had things that I liked about it more than 40k. So if there's an Age of Sigmar 10th edition, essentially, with like I really like 10th edition 40k. So I'm really interested to see if I really like 4th edition Age of Sigmar, but I guess only time will tell. Thanks for watching.